Yesterday on Next Up, you can listen to it now, watch it now. I unveiled my 8 for 28, the top 8 most likely Democratic nominees. Again, these are nominees. It's not about the general election. We don't know what the nominating calendar is going to be, who's going to vote early. And this is a very influx field. We don't know who's going to run, et cetera. With all those caveats, go watch my whole presentation. But here it is. Here's the list. This is 111, please. And guys, we weren't going to talk about this for 2 hours, although we could. Kevin, your party, you go first. Who would you move up and who would you move down on my list? Again, for those listening on the podcast, Gavin Newsom most likely, then Josh Shapiro, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Andy Beshear, Wes Moore, J.B. Pritzker, AOC, the top 8. And again, I factor in, people say, well, what about Gretchen Whitmer? Well, I don't think she's going to run in the end, so I don't put her.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Mark, Gretchen has kind of said that she's not really interested. She's not building a national team or anything like that, which has been interesting to see. I would probably move Beshear up a bit or two. He just got named the head of the DGA, the Democratic Governors Association.
Now let me just stop you on that one, and then Larry, why don't you weigh in on Beshear, and we'll do it like that. You say you'd move him higher, and I've got other very smart people saying that. I will tell you, 2 of the smartest Democrats I know about presidential politics said Beshear doesn't belong on the list. So it's a controversial one. Larry, would you move Beshear up or down, or leave him right there?
No, I'd move him down. Well, again, by the way, all this is predicated. Just one huge caveat. What's the calendar look like? What states are first?
Well, we don't know. We don't know, Larry. But I can't wait for that. Okay. That's understood. A big factor. But where would you move? Would you move Beshear in a higher?
I'd move Beshear. I'd
more
move
likely
Beshear
or
down.
less likely? Less
Way
likely.
Less
Okay.
likely. Yes.
All right, Kevin. Somebody else you'd move.
I'd move Harris down.
So just to be clear, Kevin says move Beshear higher. Larry says move him lower. So
he leaves the governor's. He's got that crossover appeal you talked about, Mark. He leaves the governor's office 1 year before the election, so he can crisscross the country without having to govern. Yeah. And now he's the head of the DGA. He's making all these national relationships.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, I thought it was an interesting point, Mark. I'd move her down even with that
lower, less likely.
Reference.
Less
because
likely.
Again, she raised $1.5 billion. God love her in 107 days with her book.
Well,
and there's just exhaustion.
Didn't she inherit a lot of that money from Joe Biden's campaign?
I'm guessing you'd both make her less likely. Is that right?
No, absolutely. If she's running, how do you not make her a top 3 candidate? Actually, I think you need to move her up into the top 3.
So Kevin would make. So again, you disagree. One of you would move Beshear high, more likely, one less likely.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
No, I understand.
Not my party.
Larry would make Harris more likely, moving up ahead of Beshear.
Larry wants to move AOC up to number 1. I guarantee it.
Okay, Kevin.
In terms of who he'd be built.
Kevin, anybody else you want to move up or down?
I'd probably move Wes Moore up too. I mean,
he's
got some questions, and you did a deep dive on him about his record and stuff like that. You know, he's going to win re-election by a huge margin in 2000. Right. In 26.
So Kevin, you're asking to move up all of the people that you want to be,
except Kamala,
because they're more moderate and they're more appealable. They're less radical.
Larry, is there anybody not on my top 8 who you think should be in the top 8?
No, I think you're good. I think that's the top 8. I do.
Kevin?
I mean, I'd like to think Rahm Emanuel could make a dent in the Democratic Party.
He was on the bubble, but I had to give the Illinois slot to Pritzker because all my sources said more likely. Kevin, anybody not on my list who you'd put on the list?
I'm going to put a dark horse out there, Mark Cuban. I think that there's energy out there for a non-politician, as we saw with Donald Trump. He's hired some folks from D.C. to help advise him. I would not be surprised. He had this delicate dance with Kamala to be VP and had some conversations. I would not be surprised if he throws his hat in the ring.
Kevin, I have to say that although the president hasn't yet reclassified marijuana, it sounds to me like you might have been partaking. You've learned the long lesson of Donald Trump.
Mark the date and time for when he gets in.
Donald Trump's election does not illustrate that some business person can just walk in and become the nominee of a major party.
I mean, it worked for Wendell Willkie.
All right.
Kevin, if I may, here's the other problem. The Democrats live and die on this whole notion of expertise. You got to trust the experts with these things. You can't let an amateur come in. We can't let they are tied to the idea of a career politician being president. They're all about resume. They're all about track record.
Well,
they
historically,
Mark Cuban.
Historically they have been. But let me do one more caveat, which I do I lay out on Next Up, which is this. In 2024, we didn't really get a read on what the party wanted in terms of a nominee because it was an incumbent, Biden and then Harris. In 2016 and 2020, I would argue that if the Democratic Party hadn't rigged the system, Bernie would have been the nominee both years. And the party's only moved to the left since then.
I agree.
So it's possible that I shouldn't have anybody on my list besides AOC and some other
Well,
progressives. That's possible, right?
This is why
But
my change to your list would be moving AOC up, because she
Yeah.
is the one who represents where the real energy of
Yeah.
the party is
Yeah.
right now. And I would move Buttigieg down. I was very, very bullish on Buttigieg about 6 to 9 months ago,
Yeah.
but he has been absolutely vanilla, pathetic,
Yeah.
boring, I think, in his moment.
Yeah.
He's tried to do what Gavin Newsom's achieved right now, and I
Yeah.
think that his stock is down.
I just, as I say in my rankings, he's a killer. He and his team they're killers. They're assassins. And he's run before and they know what to do. And
just
so
ask Amy Klobuchar.
yeah, exactly. I might move him down. I might swap him with Harris if I were doing it over again. But I'm just telling you, he's a very, very smart guy. The party really likes him.
I agree. He's impressive. Don't you
Yeah.
think he's been
Everybody's-
lackluster the last 9 months? I mean, this has been his chance to stake his claim.
He's not the governor of anything. He doesn't have a platform. He's a dad in Michigan. So, but I take your point, and I'll say, as I always do, there's no perfect candidates. I can tell you what's wrong with all 8 of these people.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.